Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We're glad that you're with us this morning and hoping that today finds you doing well and healthy and looking forward to another bright, warming up day, right? I'm thankful on May 16th that there's no forecast for snow today. And yesterday was a treat.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
beautiful, a hint of summer to come, and we're hoping that this the physical space, that your spiritual space, and that your wellness are all in balance today. We're going to mute you for now. We'll unmute everybody at the very end, and I will. And we'll look forward to wishing you a Shabbat Shalom at the very end as well. But please do join with us. Please sing with us and move with us and pray with us, be in silence with us, be in this prayerful space together with us as we celebrate Shabbat together.
We begin this Matobo as we always begin our Shabbat morning with a beautiful prayer as we welcome all of you. Matobu, Matobu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkeradecha Yisrael, Matobu. Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkeradecha Yisrael, Vani berov chazdecha, avo veitecha, eshtacha ve'enchal kodshecha, beiratecha, Matovu, Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkeradecha Yisrael, Adonai Ahavti, me'on beitecha, u'mekom mishkan kevodecha, Mishkan kevodecha, vani eshtachave v'echra, ebrecha lifnei Adonai, osi, matovu, matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkeratecha Yisrael, Bani tefilati lecha, Adonai et ratzon, Elohim berov chazdecha, Elohim berov chazdecha, Haneni be'emet ishecha, Matovu, Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkeradecha Yisrael, Mishkeradecha Yisrael.
Let us pause just for a moment. We spoke just before we got started about masks and about filters, and I am so aware, as I'm sure many of us are right now, the filter of our body right now, how we are noticing things, how we are moving through this time, how we are moving through our different spaces, our physical spaces, our breath, our bodies, our wellness. As we say together, praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed. It would be impossible to endure and stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai, rofechol basar umafli la'asot.
Elohai, Elohai, neshama. Elohai, Elohai, neshama. Shenatata mi tehorahi, tehorahi. Ata virata, ata itzarta, ata nefachta abi. Elohai, Elohai, neshama. Elohai, Elohai, neshama. Shenatata bi tehorahi, tehorahi.
And we say, and we join together in saying, I find by experience, not by reasoning, but by my own discovery, that God is near me. And I can be near God at all times. I can't explain it, but I am as sure of my experience as I am of the fact that I live in love. I cannot explain how I have come to live in love, but I know I do. And in the same way, I know I am in contact with God.
Let's all join in Psalm 150. And as I always invite you to use your hands as percussion or use instruments if you have any drums or even, just pans and pots, and make sound too. Use any percussion, just get ourselves in the mood of rejoicing for Shabbat. Hallelujah, 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 Bekat Shah, hallelujah, Birki Yazah, hallelujah, Big Barakah, hallelujah, Good, thanks. I see somebody tapping your knees, which anything works, any movement works.
And we see everybody rushing toward that beautiful water that you have given us, right? In the hopes that summer is near and outdoor time and praise in the outdoors, the open outdoors is close at hand. We say, praised are you, sovereign of wonders, crowned in adoration, delighted in song, eternal majesty. Join us, please, as we continue.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash merabah. Be'amari berachirote be'amrit machote. B'chayechonu b'yamechon. U'chayedecho bet Israel. Bagala, bagala. U'bizman karib ve'imeru. שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה, שמי קדושה בריחו, לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונאמתה, דמירן בעלמה ואמרו Amen.
We invite you please to join us in body or in spirit as we continue with our call to worship the Baruch Hu, and please to rise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. Le'olam va'ed.
Our world is beyond our knowledge, greater than our understanding. Help us, O God, to accept what we cannot understand, to love the beauty of creation without trying to control it. Teach us to bend with life, to repair what we can repair, to live with our questions, and to rejoice in your wonders. Baruch atah Adonai Yotzer Hamerot. Praised are you, Adonai, creator of all heavenly lights. Ahava Rabbah, praised be you, Adonai, who chooses your people love in Israel, your people Israel in love. Baruch atah Adonai habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed.
And please be seated.
Join me, please. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אלוהים מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice. Join us, please, as we continue with the singing of Mi Chamocha.
Well, lots of beach pictures this morning for our inspirational images. מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורדי לא תוסף אלה, נורדי לא תוסף אלה, שירה חדשה שיפו גאולים, לשמך שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו, ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם. Ya bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye bye bim bam. Ay 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 ay, ya bye bye bim bam. Ay 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 ay, ya bye bye bim bam. Sur Israel, kuma bezrat Israel, ufreinu mecha Yehuda beIsrael. Gohalinu Adonai Tzebaot Shemo, Kedosh Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Israel.
We say, pray as if everything depends on God and act as if everything depended on you. We continue now with the tefillah. We invite you, please, in body or in spirit, to continue with us as we rise.
Adonai sefer tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניכם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך חוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן הברכה בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד חתל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נפלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, בשני עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות, ומדע מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחייך הכל. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש קדוש קדוש, אדוני צבאות, מלוא הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מאדיר, שמך בארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד אלוהינו, ואבינו מלכנו, ומשיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד עוד לך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
And please be seated as we continue. I don't know if you have been as struck as I have been as we move more outside and see all the bursts of color right now, the tulips. And then we were talking this morning in Torah study, the tulips and the daffodils in particular are so lush and so wonderful and so beautiful. So if you are able to be outside today, pay special attention to that which is growing and the extra joy and color and beauty that it gives to this Shabbat day. Join us, please, as we continue in song celebrating Shabbat.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. מקדשי שבת, כולם ישבעו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. אוי ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשת שבת, חמדן ימים אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת, זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. We continue together as we say, Baruch atah Adonai, Machazir Shchinato L'Tzion. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose presence returns to Zion. Baruch atah Adonai, Hatov Shimcha L'chana Elohodot. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. And we continue now with our prayers, our songs, our wishes, our hopes, our fervent hopes for security, for safety, for well-being, and for peace. Join us, please, as we continue in song.
Let's all join with Sim Shalom. I hope people who are usually respond with Sim Shalom are there. I can't see everybody as we share the screen, but let's hear you in response.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך, ברכנו יצרנו כולנו כאחד, באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו.
שים שלום.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך, דורות חיים ואהבת חסד, ואהבת חסד, וצדקה וברכה ורחמים, לחיים ושלום.
שים שלום.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך, וטוב בעיניך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך.
Sim Shalom.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל ישראל עמך.
Let's take a few moments, all of us, each of us, in our own way, to pray, to meditate, to appreciate some time in silence.
עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
We move our hearts and our prayers now to those who are needing healing, who are needing strength, who are needing courage, who are needing wholeness, those who are struggling right now. I'm thinking especially of those whom we will name in our own community, alongside of those who are working, those who are afraid right now to be working, who are needing courage, who are needing our support, who are needing caution, and who are needing good health, those who are tending to those who are sick, who are struggling, those who are our responders, our healthcare professionals, our mental health care professionals, those who are serving us, those who are continuing onward. As we say, Mishaberach Avotenu v'Imotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah, Hu Yivarech et HaCholin. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and strengthen those who are struggling. This Shabbat we are holding in prayer Thomas DiMatteo, Mark Friedman, Elizabeth Friedman, Dorothy Jacobson, Shana Esther Bat Rochel, Chris Sora, Joel Shemaskin, Chaya Necha Bat Rivalea, Simon Brightman, Barbara Bayer, Katriel Parachia, Ben Herschel Laser Vishoshana, Michael Weistreich, Sally Graff, Sam Waby, Sarah Bat Abraham Bissara, William Fawcett Jr., Alan Skirker, Muriel Steinberg, Chaim Ben Saradina Yehoshua, Jeffrey Sussman, Laura Braun, Sima Rochel Bat Esther Fredel, Margaret Canner, Leslie Lockett, Bobby Johnson, Chaim Ben Zalman Vivela, Shulamit Buzo, Francis Reichold, Neil Rapp, Raymond Condon, Hilda Ring, Gil Maker, and Susan Silton Tobias. We ask you please, if there are others whose names we should be holding in our prayers, to please add them into the chat box at this time for us to include in our prayers. Gerald Dreyer, Jason Weiland, Aaron Nehemiah Ben Sarah, Matt Jones. Ann Wallace. Joshua Ocampo, Al Rothschild. And we add to our prayers those who have no one to say a prayer for them and who are in need of strength. As we say, may the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God send them renewal of body and renewal of spirit as we join together in saying, Amen.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberak imotenu, mekorech habracha leavotenu. Let those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We'll continue now. We, as we do each week, we move from our prayers of healing and wholeness to our source that gives us so much strength, our study of Torah. And this morning we will be learning from the last two chapters, the last two parshiot of Leviticus. Bahar and Bechukotai is where we find ourselves, this double portion. Some of you have been studying it before. Some were meant to become bat mitzvah this morning, and right, I think we do a deeper dive this morning into our portion, a section from Leviticus beginning chapter 25. That is the instruction of Moses telling the Israelites about the sabbatical year, how in every seventh year the land is supposed to lay fallow, that fields shouldn't be sown and vines shouldn't be pruned, that we're supposed to give everything its rest. After every 49 years, the 50th year, we're supposed to have a jubilee year when all the land that has been sold during that time should be returned to its original owners. And we have a whole host of instructions, as Leviticus is wont to do, but we come to the end of our book. So we will, it is the custom actually at the end of a book, and maybe Cantor Braun, you can help us at the very end. We will study the English of the Parsha, but I thought maybe we would just listen to just one sentence at the beginning and one sentence in the end, spoken, not chanted. I promise not to expose you to that in the morning. But the first words that we would say right after the Aliyah, maybe we could share the Aliyah together. and then continue onward.
Baruch Hu Adonai Habarach, Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato, Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. V'yidaber Adonai el Moshe Bahar Sinai Lemor. So the very first words are, the Eternal spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai. So just those first few words, right? We hear those first few words, but I'm going to put up for you to see the English, and I'm hoping that we will have a volunteer in just a moment who might be willing to, hold on one second, who might be willing to read the English of our portion. If you would just raise your hand, I have it up on the screen. No tricky words, I promise. No names and no city names, all pretty general. Thank you, Rebecca. I will unmute you. I hope I'm unmuting you. There we go. Rebecca, if you would mind please reading for us verses 1 through 18. They should be enumerated on your page as well.
The Eternal spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai, saying, "Speak to the Israelite people and say to them, when you enter the land that I assign to you, the land shall observe a Sabbath of the Eternal. 6 years you may sow your field, and 6 years you may prune your vineyard and gather in the yield. But in the 7th year the land shall have a Sabbath of complete rest, a Sabbath of the Eternal, that you shall not sow your field or prune your vineyard. You shall not reap the aftergrowth of your harvest or gather the grapes of your untrimmed vines. It shall be a year of complete rest for the land. But you may eat whatever the land during its Sabbath will produce. You, your male and female slaves, the hired and bound laborers who live with you, and your cattle and the beasts in your land may eat all its yield. You shall count off 7 weeks of years, 7 times 7 years, so that the period of 7 weeks of years gives you a total of 49 years. Then shall you sound the horn loud. In the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, the day of atonement, you shall have the horn sounded throughout your land. And you shall hallow the 50th year. You shall proclaim release or liberty throughout the land for all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you. Each of you shall return to his holding, and each of you shall return to his family. That 50th year shall be a jubilee for you. You shall not sow, neither shall you reap the aftergrowth or harvest the untrimmed vines. For it is a jubilee. It shall be holy to you. You may only eat the growth direct from the field. In this year of jubilee, each of you shall return to his holding. When you sell property to your neighbor or buy any from your neighbor, you shall not wrong one another. In buying from your neighbor, you shall deduct only for the number of years since the Jubilee, and in selling to you, he shall charge you only for the remaining crop years. The more such years, the higher the price you pay. The fewer such years, the lower the price, for what he is selling you is a number of harvests. Do not wrong one another, but fear your God, for I, the Eternal, am your God. You shall observe my laws and faithfully keep my rules that you,
Hold on.
That you may live on the land in security.
Wait, hold on. Hold on.
The land shall yield its fruit, and you shall eat your fill, and you shall live upon it in security.
So I'm going to unmute everybody for a moment. Thank you, Rebecca, for reading.
Thank you, Rebecca.
I'm wondering what you are thinking about in terms of this Torah portion, right? We talk about a Shabbaton, right? A Sabbath of all Sabbaths of rest. We know when the land is supposed to lie fallow. We know that this is supposed to be a kind of aspirational text for us. We are meant to take a pause agriculturally, right? What else caught your attention so far, just on the surface read, what we call the pshat reading of this?
I always wondered how people were going to live during those years, but I never realized that you could eat. It's just you couldn't really harvest, I guess.
Right. Right. So how do you do, right? And we should point out that these laws were worked and then reworked and then reworked again because it became very difficult. The rabbis saw very quickly, to your question, Rebecca, that things needed to change, right? That it wasn't sustainable, no pun intended, in that way, and that they had to make some accommodations. But you could gather that which resulted without your tending to it, right? What else? It's a good question. What else do you notice from here so far? What else has caught your attention?
So I wondered how the land goes back to the family. I didn't really understand how that would be. Like, would everybody die off? And
Right. So how does that work? Right? And how does just the business end of that work, right? Logistically, how does that happen? And what happens if people aren't still alive? And what was it meant to do? Were you supposed to release that, right? Was it a technicality? Was it legitimate? Was it like a literal rather? How did that all work practically? And did it work, right? You're talking about in the Jubilee year?
yeah.
In the 50th year, right? In the 50th year, right? And interesting also that we notice that the Jubilee year is meant to begin at Rosh Hashanah, but the actual release itself begins when the shofar is sounded at Yom Kippur. I don't know if you noticed that, but right, that is what's supposed to happen as well. What else did you notice from here? Anything else? Any contemporary thoughts about what it might be yeah, go ahead.
No harvest and not enough food.
Okay, so interesting. I didn't know where people were going to go, right? So no harvest, not enough food, right? So is there a scarcity, right? Is there a scarcity? What else?
Like supply chains.
Supply chains, right?
Aren't some people saying that this is maybe to consider this period of time as like a jubilee, a time away from time, to see an upside of this horrible situation?
Absolutely. There are many contemporary thinkers who have said, is there what for us to learn from this ancient teaching, living in in an industrialized world, right? Might we, Marilyn, as you're correctly noting, might we learn from what it's like to let the earth rebalance itself, right? If we aren't working it so hard, right? We've seen, I'm sure we've all read the same reports that talk about the decrease in air pollution. Mm-hmm. Right, and all the other things that we are not by choice, but by circumstances, the earth is replenishing and restoring itself. Right. There are flip sides to that as well. Right. We have also read some of the difficult things where farmers have far too much and not enough place to put it, and those tragic stories as well about the milk. The milk dump that we had at the U of R last week, which was amazing, where they had, farmers had far too much milk, and so they just were giving it away at the U of R last Monday, right? So we see that balance when we are accustomed to working things in a certain way, and then, as you say, the supply chain, but both the demand and the supply chain are impacted, right? So what do we learn about the rhythms of things, right? What else?
I think it's a time of reevaluation. I can't get my words out right now.
Yeah. How's Arlene? How so?
Um,
Move over a little so we can see your beautiful face. We only see your shoulder. Yeah.
When you're in a position like this gives you time to really think about where you are in life, and even with the harvest, if you stop working and you spend a year thinking about what you've done, it really helps you evaluate what can be better, what can change. So looking at the way the world has been running on the circle, it stopped. So in stopping, it allows you the time to say, okay, this is where I'm at, this is where everyone's at, how are we going to make it different? That's what I feel. Yeah. Reevaluation.
Yeah, absolutely. A reevaluation, a chance to look at priorities. Right. And to notice what is truly and deeply needed, and that with which we can do without, right? The things that we can do without. People have talked about how this is an equalizer, with which I disagree. Because those of us who live with a certain measure of privilege are not equalized in the same way that those who are without
Yeah.
are going without right now, right? But what this biblical teaching might allow us to think about when all were required to stop tilling their land, right? And all were required to stop harvesting and working their crops, right? That everybody, you know, rich or poor, those who had and those who don't have, were faced with the same the same command, right? The same command, and then how we spread what we have, right? How we share what we have. And then, you know, kind of capped off, Marilyn, with your correct question with how that all works in the Jubilee year. Much confusion about that, right? How we actually return, release, property and indentured servant slaves, right, to people who were the rightful owners every 50 years. How does that work logistically, right? All those questions and how we balance that. Yeah. What else are you thinking about?
Oh, just this idea of returning people, the indentured servants. I just think of the homeless, returning them back to society.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah.
Because we were slaves in Egypt, so why do we have indentured slaves?
Right. How do we understand that biblical concept? A whole conversation, a very important conversation for another time, right? What did our people understand, having come out of slavery? How did that all work in terms of our values and our ethics and what how God intended us then and now to live, right? And the edict, the command to pay your laborer on the day of their labors, right? To treat them fairly, right? All the different teachings that we have that come out of this as well, right? Right. Anything else at all that you're noticing?
Would it have anything to do? Well, how would it reflect on the situation in Israel with the, with the territory, giving back land? I mean, how would this even fit into that idea?
Right.
Certainly, that's not what's going on. There's more taking than giving. So.
Right, a very big and important question that you're asking, not just a class, but an entire course that we could have on how that would all be understood, right? And right, kind of rightful ownership and what that looks like, and security and safety alongside, right? How we understand that whole very difficult and nuanced commandment in contemporary times. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if any of you are reading from your Plout commentary, if you have that at home, but verse 10, Rebecca, that you just read for us said, "And you shall hallow the 50th year, you shall proclaim release," is the English word, "throughout the land for all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you. Each of you shall return to his holding, and each of you shall return to his family." These are some of the words, by the way, that are inscribed on the Liberty Bell.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, if you notice that, right?
Proclaim liberty throughout the land.
Say again.
It's proclaim liberty throughout the land.
It's proclaim liberty, and the Hebrew word can be understood as either liberty or release, which is very interesting, right? Which and the Liberty Bell was the signing, celebrating, announcing the signing of the Declaration of Independence, right? So how do we understand, or do we understand, the relationship between liberty and release? What do you think? Is there a relationship between those two?
Well, in this case, maybe release from burdens. That's, the Jubilee is, you put down your work, you put down what you're normally doing, and you ingather. I like the image of being with your family, because especially in these days, that's what I think people want to do, is they really want to be with their family and their community. And we've been finding somewhat clever ways to do it, but I think people still want to do it in person.
Right. Yes. Right. So what does release from mean, right? What does liberty to, right? I mean, there's the from and the to, right? Yeah. Jackie, is that a question or a moving of the camera? A moving of the camera. Okay. And anybody else thinking of anything at all?
You?
Some of us were honored and privileged to be on a call with Stacey Abrams earlier this week, who many of you know. She was a gubernatorial candidate in Atlanta, in Georgia. Yeah, and there was a big mess of election results when she ran. She has been working tirelessly around voting reform and voter suppression, especially in her state. And she was talking very, very clearly and very boldly in this year ahead of what freedom and liberty look like, not just freedom to move about how we want, but freedom to be able to enjoy your rights as Americans, our rights as Americans, all of us, right? Across the spectrum, race, religion, gender, right, creed, everything. And she was talking about how that needs to be chief among our priorities as we move into the year ahead, for all to actually enjoy freedom. So I thought very, very timely as well, when so many of us are dealing with our personal constraints around freedom and liberty to move the way we want and access to the things that we want, in tandem with communal access to how we are, how I think, and she thinks, by the way, it's cool to know she is the child of both of her parents are ministers, which is very cool. And she said, she spoke so powerfully. She said that she's one of, I think, did she say 4 or 5 children? She grew up, very modestly. And she said she has a brother who struggles with heroin addiction and bipolar disorder and is in and out of treatment facilities and is very much in and out of a very broken system. And she has a sister who is one of the first, I don't know if she said a Supreme Court judge in Atlanta, who is highly accomplished. She herself is, she's a graduate. Stacey Abrams is a graduate from an Ivy League school as well. So she said just within her family cosmos, right, she sees freedom and access in very different ways, and that her brother and her sister ought to be entitled to the very same rights that you and I are entitled to as Americans.
Absolutely.
Right? So
I was hoping, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was hoping that she would be chosen as vice president with Biden running.
Yeah. Another class for another conversation, right? She's a great, great speaker. If you have the opportunity to learn with her, I would definitely recommend it. Very, very moving for sure.
I was just going to add, there's a Native American joke that I heard at a storytelling conference where there were Native Americans sitting on the porch of a general store, and a white person walks in, and then he walks out and he sneezes and he takes out a handkerchief, to catch the sneeze and to blow his nose. And as he's walking away, one Native American says to another, "Those white people save everything." And so, it's a whole different way of looking at possessions,
Yeah.
right? The value in some tribes was that you were wealthy, the more you could give away, not the more that you could accumulate. So I just thought I'd just add that in.
Yeah, no finer a teaching could we finish off this section of Leviticus hearing. Really, that's right alongside of Arlene's point, I think, as well, of reassessing what liberty and freedom really mean, what freedom to do what, right? And how we appreciate this sabbatical that has been given to us, in a way, and what we do with it. It's a beautiful, beautiful teaching for us to consider. Sometimes when we look at Leviticus, we think, it's not for us anymore, right? It's ancient. It's a lot of rules, a lot of you should do this and you shouldn't do that, but so very much for us to learn about what it means to take a sabbatical or to be offered a sabbatical. Somewhat unwelcome, right? Unwelcome as it is, but what we do with it now that it's here, and what liberty and freedom mean for us. Yes, thank you very much, very much. So I will read. Go ahead.
Oh, nothing.
Okay, I will. I'm going to just mute you all again, and then I will read the very last little bit of. Let me just make sure I have Cantor Braun. I will, so we started with the very first words of this portion of Bahar, and the very last words of this double portion, Bechukotai, end with the words, El mitzvot asher tziva Adonai et Moshe el bnei Yisrael Bahar Sinai. We started with the words on Mount Sinai, that God gave us these words on Mount Sinai, even though we know we weren't actually, they were spoken at Mount Sinai, but our story picks up much later on down the pike. So why are we starting this section of Leviticus with Mount Sinai, and why are we ending the entire book of Leviticus also hearing that we were, these words were given to us at Mount Sinai? Because what we are taught is that revelation is ongoing, right? That what was revealed to us originally at Mount Sinai was what we originally heard as a people, and that we are meant to hear and to appreciate and to be open to the ongoing revelation that God gives us from that time forward. And when it is our custom, when we finish reading a book of the Bible, to say chazak, chazak, v'nit chazak, be strong, and be strengthened by what we have learned. And so I invite you to join me as we say chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. And then we conclude, Cantor, please, with our bracha following Torah reading.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for the good study, everybody, and for the food, no pun intended, the food for thought as well. We'll continue now as we do and head toward our concluding prayers. We move to the Elena. We invite you, please, in body or in spirit, to join us as we rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא סרגי הרצות ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם כהנו כהם וגורלנו כאור המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We continue now as we turn our thoughts to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. This Shabbat marks the 30-day period, Shloshim, for Lillian Blankfein, mother of Paul Rothberg, and Barbara Phillips, our temple member. This Shabbat is a yahrzeit and anniversary of passing for Ruth Belanoff, Polya Barenbaum, Neil Bogardus, Betty Brown, Phyllis Cohn, Gerald Cooper, Frank Donsky, Sanford Elwitt, Bessie Fenster, Thomas J. Finnefrock, Jerry Greenfield, Harry G. Horwitz, Simeon Khrushchev, Stephen Lapin, Samuel Leonard, Abraham A. Liff, Peter Manasowitz, Anthony Menon, Saul Moress, Lawrence Robert Moser, Pearl Parness, Faye Perlman, Jacqueline Richter, Arthur Rosen, Philip Salit, Susan Wendy Schifrin, Bessie Snyder, Leah Tibor, Naum Bovchek, Morton Whiteman, Liette Moog Wilson, Morris Zand, and Morton Zimler. If there are other names that you would add to either list, please, we invite you to add them to the chat box at this time. Rhoda Feldstein and Ray Plisker. We gather all of these and all of those for whom there is no one to say Kaddish for them, as we say Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing, and we continue with the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudashah b'richu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all who mourn, to all Israel, as we join together in saying, amen. And please be seated. A few announcements to share with you this morning, and any others that you might add. We want to remind you, if you don't already have it blocked out on your calendar tonight, to please join us at 7 o'clock for what promises to be a wonderful, wonderful event with Rabbi Noam Katz. Rabbi Katz is wildly talented, homegrown artist of a son who will be doing a short Havdalah with us, followed by a wonderful, I am absolutely sure, concert honoring Rabbi Katz. So make sure to join us at 7 o'clock. You'll find that information on our website. Bring your own candles and spices and grape juice or wine if you have, and join us in Havdalah, and then a festive evening as we celebrate Rabbi Katz if you have the opportunity. Also a wonderful opportunity given that our gala had to be postponed. And also I'll tell you, yesterday was Rabbi Katz's birthday, so it's another chance to celebrate all the goodness he has offered us as well. Sunday morning tomorrow we have our last day of religious school and our service at 10 a.m. We hope you can join us for that, when we can celebrate all of those and our teachers and our madrichim and our students who have just been steadfast in continuing their studies. So we're going to have that celebration tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Monday we have time for the Chaim. Bring your coffee or cocktail or water and your conversation and just for some company at 5 p.m. That's our time for the Chaim together. And on Wednesday, we have a new edition at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, the 20th. We will have, Margie Price will be leading a meditation, reflection, and conversation on the 20th at 7 p.m. And we want to remind you, please, to email one of us or Mary or Joyce or Bobby in the office with your good news, your mazel tovs. We know that people have them, and we want to ask you to please share that so we can offer that up to everybody as well. If you have any other news that we should share, please just add that into the chat box now. We want to pay loving attention to the Bissonette family as well. This was intended to be Lizzie's bat mitzvah day. We're looking forward to celebrating, please God, when all again is different and well at the right time. But do acknowledge that today is a special day in the Bissonette family and for Lizzie as well. And we're eager to have her lead us in prayer and in song and in Torah study again. Any other announcements for today? Okay, join us please as we continue with Kiddush. If you have your grape juice or your wine, please join us as we lift up, as we celebrate the sweetness of this day.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Amen. Yum.
Join us, please. We'll give thanks for whatever it is that you will be enjoying as you break bread following services.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Our closing song, we will invite you to join us, please. Am Yisrael Echad, the people of Israel lives, and we pray for safety and security and peace in all places here and everywhere.
Please join me in this upbeat and joyful ending. Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel Chai. 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 Od Avinu Chai. And let me see your hands up with a high. Od Avinu Chai, Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. B'Matem Od Avinu Chai, Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel 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 Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Chai. Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Well, thanks for your energy.
We're so glad that you're with us this morning, and we will unmute everybody. Wish you a Shabbat Shalom, a healthy, a contented, a peaceful, restorative Shabbat as well, and the moment you've all been waiting for.
Levi.
You are unmuted. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Hello.
Shabbat
Is that-
Shalom, Ellen and baby.
Is that Levi?
Oh my goodness.
Hi, buddy.
So cute. Wow.
Adorable.
Those are some good Bekalach, some good cheek.
I was just thinking that.
I'm gonna pinch him now.
What a cutie. Wow. Hello.
Oh, wow.
Gonna be 6 months old next week.
Oh,
How many,
oh Levi.
Cute.
how
You're
many
getting
months,
so
Ellen?
big.
Hmm.
You're getting so
Wow.
How many months old again?
We will be 6 months next week.
Oh, wow. Okay. Look at that.
Look at him.
What a
Liz,
guy.
Lizzie, do you have any words of wisdom for little Levi?
Don't have your bat mitzvah on a year when a pandemic strikes.
Amen.
Bar mitzvah.
Wow.
Have your bar
Right.
on your way. Strikes. That way you don't have any stress
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
on the year
Shabbat
with
Shalom.